And thanks, ladies and gentlemen. So despite that introduction, it is a watershed day for Impact Minerals. And they say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we've been exploring for 16 years. But about 6 months ago, we came across an exceptional opportunity, which we announced to the market today, which means that we're now on the road to development and production in the high-purity alumina space in a unique project hosted in a salt lake or a playa deposit, as they're called here, here in Western Australia. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Is this working? There we go. So this is a salt lake. It's called Lake Hope. It's a playa deposit, as we call it. There's a little bit of water in through here. And this lake is rather magical. And the reason being is that underneath it lies what we believe is a transformational acquisition for this company. What is beneath there? Now, we've done some drilling already. There's about 100 holes into it. We're not quite ready for a resource estimate, but that is coming. But we are allowed to quote an exploration target. And we can quote the mid-figure in through here, is that this lake in the top 2 metres of the lake contains somewhere between 630,000 tonnes to 1.25 million tonnes of alumina, or aluminium oxide. So we'll pick a middle figure of about 1 million tonnes. Now, the beauty of that is that we can convert that via a disruptive metallurgical process into high-purity alumina, which is basically 99% alumina. And the average price nowadays for that product, which is difficult to gain, but is somewhere in the region of $15,000 to $25,000 per tonne. So that gives us a value that you can calculate yourself of in-ground value, somewhere in the region of, anybody want to guess? It's in excess of $20 billion in the top 2 metres of this lake. So I'd like to say we discovered it. We were listed to discover a world-class ore body. The discovery has been made by this gentleman here, Roland Gotthard, who is actually doing advanced drilling, as you can see here. The material is so soft that he can use a push tube or a hand auger to drill down to 1 to 2 metres, and that's what we've done to define the resource that will be coming out within about the next month or so. And we probably drilled out that resource for a cost of less than $100,000. So Roland came up with a lateral way of thinking about how aluminous minerals might form in these lakes, and also designed a cost-disruptive metallurgical process to go with it. And so this is what the material looks like. It's like plasticine. As I say, you can hand drill it. And we actually came across the project, believe it or not, on LinkedIn. Roland's been fishing for a year or more with some home chemistry, talking about this deposit. We became intrigued, got in touch with him, and were really astounded by what was on offer. So thank you very much, LinkedIn. Is it the perfect ore body? Well, one of the great things about it is that the particle size distribution is naturally less than 16 micron. The majority of the material is actually down at 5 micron, and it's only where it gets sandy at the edges of the deposit does it get a bit coarser. And so this is naturally fine-grained, and so it requires no grinding, no comminution. And so we think that we might be on the verge of what might be the world's shallowest and highest grade open pit. It's high grade, it's about 25% alumina. It's very soft and cheap to dig, very shallow. Basically, 3 men, a digger and a truck will be able to remove this material from the top surface of the lake and truck it to an off-site facility, which will be in one of the population centres around the coast. And no pre-stripping, no selective mining, no crushing, no grinding. It's basically direct shipping ore. It's going to have a tiny environmental footprint. It's biologically sterile. There's not a blade of grass, there's not a single plant, and there's probably virtually no animals that live in that lake. So it's going to have very low carbon emissions and limited rehabilitation requirements. This lake is gold, and if you want to do the calculation, you'll work out that this is about the same number of ounces as Hemi. Where is it? This is where Lake Hope is. It sits here just east of Hyden. It's very close to the mining centre of Forrestania. There is a fire break that drives right up to the side of the lake. So even when mining does take place, there'll be virtually no requirement to remove native vegetation. It's one of 5 or 6 projects in this area, and they are very unique climatically to allow basically this exclusive set of aluminum minerals to form in the bed of this lake here. So Lake Hope is a major lake system, or playa lake system. This is the East Lake and this is the West Lake. And the results of the drilling, which are shown here, Here's East Lake, and we can see we grade from 22% to high grade 27 in the middle. There's two strips here in the West Lake, both 27% in the centre. Virtually all of that will be mineable, and this is 500 metres. So we're looking at something that's about a kilometre and a half by a kilometre in dimension between the two. I will say that exploration target is based on shallow drilling. We've done some more drilling that's in progress, and there's significant chance to increase that resource, which will give us potentially a multi-decade operation. So what is high purity alumina, you're probably all asking? Well, it's actually critical minerals. It was added last year to the Australian list of critical minerals. It's a technology sector material. It's used mainly in LEDs, light emitting diodes, and there's a massive demand for that as we change from incandescent lighting to LEDs. It's also becoming essential components of modern battery architecture, particular coatings on anodes and cathodes and things like that. It's got fantastic chemically inert, it's hard, it's wear resistant, thermally stable. And so the purity is graded by the contaminants, and so with benchmark maturity is 99.99%, hence 4N, 4 nines. But really, and this is the area that we lack the skills in at the moment, we're going to build out, is that the particle shape, morphology size is what the end user requires, and those are the areas that we'll be focused on in the pre-feasibility study, along with optimising the metallurgical work. Because we need to get going over the next few years. The forecast demand for HPA, along with all of the battery metals, is forecast to grow significantly over the next decade, and so we're going to be able to provide products into that expanding market, and you will have seen that it's a high margin business. Now, I won't dwell on this, but we've come up with a disruptive sulfuric acid leaching process. The nature of the material and the fine-grained particles in particular allow sulfuric acid to be used rather than hydrochloric acid, which is the dominant acid in other forms of leaching that are proposed for high purity alumina projects elsewhere in Australia. And so it offers tremendous benefits, lower energy consumption, there's no front-end calcining required, so that reduces the carbon emissions, it's a cheaper acid, lower capital intensity all round, and we've got some numbers around that which we looked at, preliminary economic assessment, which also indicate why we wanted to get into this project. The numbers are quite significant. And we've confirmed that the product does produce alpha HPA. That's a particular form of the crystal. Alumina, these are actually basically corundum crystals in through here. Beautiful. Now, this is not what the final product that a market end user would use. And as I say, that's the capability that we need to build out, is to mill this material and find out what the end user would like as their product. So it would appear that Roland was not only praying to the geological gods, but the metallurgical gods as well. And here he is doing the sampling for the metallurgical test work. So we've done some in-house work, and this is what we've come up with in terms of the incumbent producers producing in and around about the sort of the 15 to maybe $20,000 a tonne. There's an inferior sort of Chinese product sort of coming in at the lower end of that. But really there's some new entrants, and in particular I'll point out Alpha HPA. The ASX code is A4N. Alpha HPA have done an amazing job in this field. They're using a chemical feedstock rather than a rock feedstock to produce them through here, and their cost curve is down around about this level here, sort of 5,000 to 6,000 tonnes. So their margin, if you compare it, is enormous. And they're actually being run off their feet right now in terms of requirements and product requests from people globally. They are the leaders in the marketplace, they're disrupting, and we believe that our OPEX is going to be down at that level. Alpha HPA journey, ASX 4PM, they were like us, been exploring for many years, 2017, shares way down, and their market cap now is $500 million, and so we believe that we can carry on that journey ourselves. So how much did we pay for this fantastic acquisition? Relatively cheap deal in my view, 25,000 cash, we've got an option period, but that'll go quickly. 175,000 cash, there's 50 million shares, they're escrowed for 12 months and there's some unlisted options. But the real thing there is that we're going to earn an 80% interest by completing a PFS over the next 18 months or so and issuing up to 120 million shares, but they're capped at $8 million. And then if we complete a DFS, we will issue up to 100 million shares, also capped at 10 million. So that represents about 8% or just under 10% of the current issued capital of Impact. That is also a fantastic deal for the shareholders. And Player One, where that's the company we've done the deal with, they'll have a 20% free carried interest until the decision to mine, and then a standard dilution clause afterwards. Now, none of this is going to happen without us interacting with the Ngaju people. They are the traditional owners of the ground upon which we're going to be doing the work. We've already initiated discussions and conversations with them. And as we move towards a mining lease, which is going to be our prime target over the next 6 months, we'll be engaging with the Ngaju people, and we hope to bring them into the development of this project and see if we can help their community develop as well. And that's something that we're looking forward to. And so for the first time in 16 years, I can actually offer something that approaches a concrete plan going forward. We're going to immediately launch into the completion of a scoping study, at which point, together with a mineral resource estimate, at which point we'll be able to put some figures and numbers behind the economics of this exceptional deposit. And we're going to move forward into a pre-feasibility study, should be completed next year, into a definitive feasibility study, and then small-scale production within 2 to 3 years in through here, subject to statutory approvals, of course. So this is going to be a tremendous journey for us, and I would like to invite you along it. Our shares are only up 25% today. As the numbers go through HotCopper, we've seen some nice discussions. People are doing the calculations of what this project might be worth. We're starting to get a few knocks on the door already. But this is our clear strategy. We're going to be one of the lowest cost producers of HPA globally. We've got a unique deposit in a tier 1 jurisdiction. We've got a cost-disrupted metallurgical process. We're going to build out our capabilities in metallurgy and end product specification, and we're going to deliver this product into a high-margin growth market with significant upside potential. Make sure you're on that journey with us. Thank you very much.